Hey everyone, welcome to the Heroes World podcast. My name is Stuart. I'm here with Andre
Hello.
and John.
What's up?
Hope everyone is keeping safe and being, awesome out there. So today, as May the 4th
But
is
inside.
approaching, yes, but inside, walk outside here and there to, get some physical exercise. But as May the 4th is upon us, I figure it would be a great idea for us to talk about Star Wars. So that is our topic today. We're touching a lot of different things. But first, before we get to Star Wars, let's talk about the various ways that you can find John and Andre on the internet. So how do we find both of you more on the internet, John and Andre?
Okay, so the YouTube, if you search Heroes World Online, all one word, our YouTube page will pop up. And then our Facebook / Heroes World Online. We also do have our website running right now, heroesworldonline.com. And I am on the Instagram right now, jho.heroesworld. And we do have Twitter, but it's just kind of linked to our Facebook. So we'll try and get on that.
Yeah,
Andre, anything to add?
pretty much the same thing. If you check out this video on YouTube, we've got a lot of older videos that are pretty fun. We've got some unboxings, talk about some comic books and stuff. So give some of those old videos a like. They're excellent. And you can always help us out by liking the videos, subscribing to the channel, and sharing them. Especially at this time, it's one way you can help any local business that has any social media or anything. Just share the content that you like and talk about those places, because word of mouth is the best thing that can help any business right now. Actually, I don't want to say any business. Let's help out those businesses that are struggling and running on minimal capacity, whether it's our shop, share any of our posts, share this video, comment on it, recommend it. You can even do stuff like Google, what do you call it when you rate the store, those things, rate them on Facebook and stuff like that. Just be positive, and maybe you can't help out that place financially, but you could maybe show your support by sharing and recommending them on the different spots.
Awesome. So as if you're listening to this on a podcast form, you won't see the backgrounds that Andre and myself are rolling out with, but it is Star Wars theme. John's background is
I'm in the pantry.
yeah, it's a deep cut. It's actually in the that's Luke Skywalker's hut in the background. That's where, if John opens the drawer, that's where he stores the milk. So that's essentially what's happening. So as May 4th is coming and Clone Wars is wrapping up, I thought it'd be a good idea for us to briefly have a discussion on Star Wars: The Clone Wars. We won't talk about this season. We'll wait for upcoming podcasts to go more in depth. But Andre, John, your thoughts on, I guess, the general excitement you had when you heard that the final season was coming. Thoughts on the Clone Wars from you two briefly.
So I've been a fan of Clone Wars since the movie came out, and that movie, of course, introduced us to Ahsoka Tano, and put the Clone Wars into our front and center. Great series all around. The first 5 seasons were excellent. Of course, they're full seasons, so some episodes are geared, I would say, to that one and done. But the ones that were built upon 2-3-part episodes, fantastic series all the way through. Unfortunately, for me, it hit that hiccup when the switch between Cartoon Network and Disney. So we got a really quick season with Yoda. And I didn't particularly like that one. That one felt really rushed. And of course, there was all these rumors of them doing, or they had a final season in the roughs and stuff. So the new season that they just announced and brought to Disney Plus is exactly that. I'm pretty excited to delve into it. I haven't watched it yet. But all in all, I would say, especially now that if you got time, Clone Wars is definitely worth watching.
John?
Yeah, I haven't watched any of the Clone Wars, but I'm glad to hear that they get to wrap it up properly. So it always sucks when a show kind of gets cut before its time.
So give me so since John has uninitiated, Andre, give me the 30-second elevator pitch of the show for someone like John who hasn't fully seen it.
Well,
but
is it like those animated shorts? that they had, the Clone Wars animated shorts?
That's a good thing to bring up. Yeah, so basically the Clone Wars cartoon is chronicling all of the political and battle stuff that happened in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. So it's literally a chronicle of the war. So we are seeing the Jedi's become more militarized. We're seeing the clone army expand. We're seeing what the separatists and the Sith are doing behind the scenes and stuff. So it's a fantastic look to basically bring forth more substance to the little bit of that conflict that we saw in Revenge of the Sith. So it's just like, if you wanted to see, okay, what happened? Why did it end the way that it did? That's what Clone Wars is.
And it introduced a few new characters to the canon.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Lots of really cool characters and stuff. And of course, it led to my favorite show, which is Rebels.
Yes. I can tell you right now, Andre, without spoiling anything, there are a few tying pieces with this season to Rebels. So there's some treats to see going forward for you. Something for everyone. I think the plus thing about having a show that is a little behind or in conjunction with another show is that you can tie things together that wouldn't necessarily be possible if it would have ended its run years before. So there are some, like all now science fiction, they're so big on Easter eggs that if you pay attention and you know stuff, you can still point out and go, ha, that's it. So
well, that exactly, like one of my favorite parts in Rebels was when season 2 came on and they brought Captain Rex in. And it's a really cool scene, and I'm excited that Filoni and company, the people doing Clone Wars, actually set this up. So basically, when we first meet Rex, Ezra and Kanan, they meet Rex, and he says, and they say, "Oh, my friend Ahsoka sent me," and Rex says, "Oh, Ahsoka Tano, I fought with her from the Battle of Christophsis to the Siege of Mandalore." And that came out, like, that line was said about 6 years ago, or I can't remember exactly when, during the second season of Clone Wars of Rebels. Now it's really cool because the Battle of Christophsis was the Clone Wars movie where he meets Ahsoka, and then the Siege of Mandalore is the final season that we're seeing right now on Clone Wars. So, wow, that's cool how they tied all that up, and it's pretty excellent. So I'm looking forward to it.
What's the gap? What's the gap between the original ending and this new one? Like, how many years have passed? Like
wait, from
real time. Like, how long have they stepped away from the show? Like, they got all the same voice actors and it looks the same. Like,
yeah, it's Clone Wars ended. Got to be at least 5 years ago, because we had 4 seasons of Rebels. Right?
I think John's asking about canon in the Star Wars universe.
No,
both actually. Yeah, both actually.
So
like, real time and like.
Well, we know that Star Wars Rebels takes place during the birth of the Rebel Alliance, and that we can see the Ghost in the Star Wars other movie, Rogue One. So we know that crosses over, and it goes into, and some of the characters in Rebels were involved in the liberation of Battle of Endor. So without spoiling too much, some of the characters interacted. So that Rebels kind of overlaps between the creation and then till the end of Star Wars Return of the Jedi. And The Mandalorian is 5 years seemingly, or right after that canon. And then that's like a 10-15 year gap, and then that leads to the new Star Wars. But I think from age standpoint, A New Hope is 15-20 years after the Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, based on how the characters, how old they're supposed to be, because Luke is a baby in that, so then 16 years or something like that.
It's supposed to be 16 years, yeah. So I guess basically the timeline for Clone Wars, the cartoon, is right after Attack of the Clones to right up to Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the Clone Wars cartoon that we're seeing right now, that current series, is going to end before Order 66. Order 66 is basically the end of the war. And then we have Rebels, which is going to start literally, I think it's eight years after Revenge of the Sith, because we know Ezra was born on the day that the Empire is built, and Rebels goes from that time point. So let's just say right after Revenge of the Sith to right before A New Hope. So where we see Rebels end, like the last season of Rebels, is right before the New Hope, and then we get an epilogue that takes us to where their characters are during the Battle of Endor.
Yeah, I think Andre and myself cannot stress, although these are cartoons, both animations, Rebels and Clone Wars, it is still worth your time to watch it. Don't let the cartoons be just for kids. It is totally worth your while. I think that's the biggest hurdle that whenever I make a recommendation, and when Andre makes that recommendation as well, that I don't want to watch that. It's for cartoons. So just get on Disney Plus, start watching it, and I think you'll see for yourself that the richness of the characters and the fact that when you do cartoons, you can do science fiction really well because there is no budget when creating spaceships and aliens. Because one of the characters from Rebels, Zeb, would be almost impossible to do live action, or it would cost a near fortune to do it. So you have more richness and backgrounds and characters, technology and stuff when you use animation.
Yeah, well, a lot of those kids shows, like, are really, like, they're really smart about it. They know that adults are watching, and they will help consume said merchandise. So like they do put like the TMNT Nickelodeon show, like the Green Lantern show from before, like all those shows. They always kind of like they're actually really well done for, like, is Clone Wars like 20 minutes or is it a 40-minute show or
21 ish? It's like a half an hour show.
Yeah, for a short show you can fit a lot in there. So that's cool.
Any other thoughts on the animation world, Andre, in terms of like begging and pleading for people to watch it?
Well, I think one of the things is that people need to kind of get past, like you said, the animation. And I think once you know the characters and start looking and listening to the voice actors, they are very rich. Like, let's not forget Mark Hamill's Joker on Batman the Animated Series, and nobody's saying that show is a cartoon just for kids. And I would argue that, like, you know, my favorite character out of Rebels is Kanan, and he's voiced by Freddie Prinze Jr. And I can't look at that guy and listen to him at the same time, but I can hear his voice, and I think he's actually grown as an actor.
Yep.
You know, it doesn't sound like him. He doesn't sound like that goofy, dude. So I think the voice actors are really rich.
There's something to say about the movie She's All That. That's
yeah. There's something to say,
that's the best one. Summer Catch was not a good one. He doesn't know how to play baseball. But the Freddie Prinze Jr.
He was on 24 for a second.
Yeah, and that was awful.
For a second. Yeah.
Remember, it was in Wing Commander.
Yeah. That was even worse. Like, no props to Freddie except for Kanan Jarrus.
Wing Commander had its moment. You could see moment.
Isn't Mark Hamill going to be Skeletor in the new He-Man series from Kevin Smith? That's what I heard. I don't know if that's a rumor or not.
That's the talk. Like, he is into talks for something, but we don't know what.
Mark Hamill's in talks for everything because everyone loves him, regardless of how they did them wrong in the Star Wars universe. Everyone still loves Mark Hamill, so we're okay. My last pitch for anyone who hasn't watched Clone Wars to watch it is just to understand how cool Anakin Skywalker was, as much as Hayden Christensen did his best to, encompass the character. Clone Wars just gives you so much more depth to the character, in terms of leadership, in terms of he was a caring person, in terms of like training Ahsoka. Like, he genuinely cares and has a lot of good wisdom and things, and you can see that a tactician, and as well as why they regarded him as such an important figure in the Jedi Order. It's just something that people kind of gloss over. It's like, yeah, he was kind of a badass, and now he's just Darth Vader. But again, realizing how powerful he was, and then now it's like you think of how powerful Vader is, but it's still half because he's not even in his full body form. If he was fully corporeally together, like, he would be unstoppable. It's a reminder that Anakin is more than just, the breathing that Darth Vader is. So that's my last Hail Mary throw for you to watch Clone Wars. So now that we've kind of briefly talked about a whole bunch of different things, but let's talk about Star Wars, the universe going forward. Now that Clone Wars is finishing, now the Rebels is done, Mandalorian season 1 is completed. The Cassian Andor show is currently casting people, including the ever popular Stellan Skarsgård. We're moving into the Obi-Wan show. We're moving into a bunch of different shows going forward. Now that, who knows what Kathleen Kennedy's involved, but if you two were in that room, had an opportunity to pitch a show, come up with an idea, is there something that you two had in mind about a new Star Wars show? Like, what would you want to see in the Star Wars universe that maybe isn't covered at this time?
I want to
Either
see
one.
like
let John go first. Let John go
a
first.
Dawson's Creek like Jedi Academy. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking. Actually, it might work though. Like a Riverdale-ish. Like
they're not allowed to have relationships.
CW.
It's a Jedi Order. They're supposed to be celibate.
It could be the new Jedi Order. They had relationships.
You're not supposed to. It's like the military. You're not supposed to, though. Yeah. So it's against the rules.
For real though, I would like to see more. I would like to see some Luke Skywalker stuff.
More Luke Skywalker stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he didn't get much to do in the new movies. I think he's a cool character. The New Hope. I don't know if he's the New Hope or.
Like, you just want to see 5-minute snippets of him being sad and milking cows and stuff in space in between, because that's pretty much what they said he was doing.
No, I want to see him being the last Jedi, and doing cool stuff like being a hero, being a young hotshot type thing. I don't know. I only started reading some of the books, but he, like being out on his own and doing stuff, and his relationship with Leia's sister and his role in the so I guess it's covered in the books, but I guess none of that is no longer canon or something like that. But I would like to see him on the screen in an animated format, and then you could have Mark Hamill do the voice if you do it animated. But like lightsaber, like he would be the one busting out the lightsaber the most, right? So you could see some really cool fights with swords and lightsabers and cool stuff like that.
Well, based on the entertainment industry, they may just do animation going forward because it's the cheapest / pandemic proof thing you can do, because it's just you record at home and they're like, we'll just animate it at home. Andre, I know you're chomping at the bit. What do you have?
So there's a couple shows that I'd like to see. The first,
your number one pick. Don't give me give me
the
one
teen romance
the
in the
one
Stormtrooper
show
Academy.
You want, Andre. What is the one? You walk into the room. I am the senior executive at Star Wars or Disney. I'm like, okay, Mr. Greenwich, what do you have in store for us? What is your one pitch? What is it?
The Rule of Two.
Okay.
I want to see the movie or TV series of basically the Sith making the Rule of Two, which is there should be one who has the power and one who wants the power. So there's a master and an apprentice, because I think like that's been done in the novels, and we've had the Darth Bane series, but I think we really get this kind of dark series, a serious connotation, like a serious tone, and think about how those early Sith would have to be hidden. You wouldn't be force lightning people, because at that time the Jedi thought the Sith were extinct, but they're just basically building up this this new order. Instead of having hundreds and thousands of Sith acolytes, they get down to 2. So I think that'd be a really interesting take, and it would also be the opposite of what we've seen, because we have seen the Jedi's in power and how Jedi's train and stuff like that, and you get a very little bit about the Sith perspective and stuff. But I think it'd be kind of cool to have that
perspective. Like a bad guy show.
It isn't just it's not evil for evil's sake. It's more about power, control, and passion and stuff like that. So I think that'd be a very cool take. But the show that they have to make is they have to make that sequel to Rebels. Like they have to make that.
Why do they have to make the sequel to
The,
Rebels?
it's the you know, to put it in a Star Trek term, it's the search for Ezra. You know, like they that show needs to be made. It's organically done. The epilogue for Rebels, so spoilers, but the show's been over for a while, is that Sabine and Ahsoka, basically Ahsoka comes back looking like Gandalf the White. You know, she's got this staff, she's older, and Sabine, and you just see basically them on like a dock or a spaceport, and the voiceover is Sabine saying, "I now understand what Ezra's last words to me were." And the implication is for her to find him, and him and Thrawn were thrust to who knows where because of the spacefaring Purgles and stuff. And it was a fantastic closure to the series, but it just was like, yeah, let me get that. And, you know, for all people who are bitching about, you know, social justice stuff and putting in female characters and this and that, I'm like, no, this is organic. We've had 9 years of Ahsoka, and we know she's a strong female character, earned her part, you know, and then we had Sabine, 4 seasons of Rebels, great character, and the ability to take Star Wars into the unknown again. And I don't know how that isn't like what they're working on, you know, like that, like regardless of what you want to shoehorn in right now, they have so many things in Star Wars already that that just hits all their buttons naturally. So they don't have to force any agendas with the stuff they've set up, you know, like.
So I feel like this is a predicament that we just encountered with the Skywalkers, is that when you put you go all in on a character or a family, and people are used to it, you have to go back to them, and eventually characters, actors age out of their roles. So I can see why, you know, Disney's doing the Cassian Andor show and trying different things, but again, they're going back to the staples when it comes to an Obi-Wan TV show, because people kind of want to go back to what they know. But the same time is why you and I like Rebels, because they're new characters. You kind of have to continue to create, because we talk about Star Wars, this galaxy far, far away, and the universe being so big, but really it's not that big when you talk about the characters that we constantly see in the books. There's the same kind of characters over and over and over. There's not really much diversity that at least the average person understands or knows. Maybe in the comics they add new things, but they go back to the same people over and over and over.
I agree with what you're saying, but this is for what you're talking about is the failure of Disney to recognize the potential of Star Wars. Like Clone Wars, sure, it revolved around Anakin, but it was that sphere of influence got bigger, and they kept adding new characters, and then those people are brought into the sphere, and every once and again you've got to bring it back to that center, right? But Star Wars in general, like after you've done, like, you know, you've grown the Clone Wars, like I know I talked about the expanded universe a lot, but there was a ton of new characters and characters that got their own books and had their own series and stuff like that. But I think what's happened is that Disney, and I think a lot of movie studios now in general, is they're afraid to touch on something new because they want the cash cow of the success story before. And they're like, oh, well, the people only know Luke Skywalker, so we're going to give them that. Or, oh, the people only know, you know, such and such. They keep banking on the same franchise and beating it to death, when at a certain point that franchise was brand new and it made the money. So I think they've got to basically trust in their ability to look at a good story and good characters and put out new product. Like with Star Wars, again, look at the untapped potential of the Old Republic era, right? That's all new characters. There's no Skywalker there. There's no anything. And those short films that they put at the beginning of all of their games, you can YouTube Knights of the Old Republic cinematics. Man, those stories are phenomenal. And the creators who created those, and they're all CG, I'm like, those guys, hands down, they should be making Star Wars. Like, you know, I'm not okay.
I think here's the thing, Andre.
I'm gonna knock the big celebrities. I'm gonna knock or big producers. I'm going to knock J.J. Abrams. He says he loves Star Wars. Get the fuck out of here. That wasn't Star Wars. I'm going to knock Jon Favreau. That's Mandalorian is not Star Wars. I'm going to knock the guy who did Rogue One. Those aren't Star Wars, man. There's so many people out there who create Star Wars content and love Star Wars. Like the guys who, like I said, the guys who did Knights of the Old Republic.
But
The guys who did the video games, the guys who did Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, the guys who are doing some of the comic books, the guys who've written the novels. You don't need a big name. You know, don't go and get me Tiki Watiki or whatever his name is just because he's that guy. Get somebody who can write sci-fi, knows Star Wars, knows the history. You got something with 40 plus years. You can dig your own section of that.
yeah, but I think
Right?
But to your point, Andre, the 40 years of Star Wars was built on the Skywalker empire of basically the family. The tree goes from there. The best books were basically stuff on Han and Leia's twins, and then you had Luke's kid, and you had all this stuff that was
Dark
basically
Horse comics in the late 80s, early 90s, okay? There was a ton of stuff that wasn't that. Like they Dark Horse was the ones who made, you know, the old Tales of the Old Republic, Tales of the Jedi. They were the ones that created a lot of that Sith lore. There was a time for Star Wars where you couldn't do anything with the main characters. Yeah. Lucas was like, nope, you can do anything Star Wars, but you can't do Skywalker. All I'm saying is there are people out there who are creative enough to do it. And yes, they might not be a name, like a recognizable name in the industry, but it's the creativeness that
I have to disagree with you in terms of that. I think that it's the fan base that has a little bit more of issues with drastic change. I think with the well, here's the thing. Before the MCU.
Oh, sorry. Maybe when you define fan base, maybe you're talking about the people who just consume the movies.
Yeah. So if you look at the MCU,
read the novels.
I know, but that's like, they don't care about you, Andre. I get it. They don't care. They want the 18 to 49-year-old guys who go to the movie theater and watch the MCU movies over and over and over, because guess what? That makes more money. So at the end of the day, it's about who makes money.
But those same people will watch anything because they've proven that. Those same
but yes and no.
Because they watched half of that Marvel crap and half of it was crap. Right, so all they want is a big name and an explosion on the screen. And
but as much as you dislike
story, and I think
but here's the thing: it's from a Marvel's perspective, they're doing something that they're going to emulate in Star Wars. They made a collective universe, a team of characters that you can cycle in and out. They've made it into a genre where it's just not a comic movie. They've done a political thriller. They've done a magic. They've done science fiction. They've done a whole bunch of different spews of it, and now they've created a genre before years ago when they were like, oh, Star Wars movies or Marvel movies just like Westerns. It'll be in and out. Well, they've bucked the curve. They're doing a bunch of new things, and they're open to recasting. So we're going to bring in a new Captain America eventually. Don't worry about it. It's going to be a new actor or a new Iron Man, and we're fine. It's something that Star Wars just couldn't do because the canon of that universe was so ingrained and basically concrete that the fans, including myself, were like, I don't know if I want that. But Marvel fans were not used to, were just spoon-fed a universe that was constantly changing, new actors. Don Cheadle, first thing he says, like, I'm here, this is who I am, let's carry on. Like, that's Don Cheadle's first, like, kind of quote is in MCU, is because he was replacing another actor. It's just kind of a subtle nod to say, I'm a new guy, we're carrying on. So even the fact that
disagree, because like I said, Disney had 9 years of 5 years of Clone Wars, 4 years of Rebels with a lot of new characters, and people watch those shows. Sure, not in the droves that watch the Marvel movies, but maybe we'll see going forward, what it brings, But I think those guys are going to have to be brave, and they're good. Here's the thing, we can talk about the sequels and if they were, good, bad, or ugly or whatever, but I guarantee you that it's not the fault of the characters and the actors that played those characters that those movies were not well received. It's just that the movies were poorly written and had no direction. If Rey's story had a concrete direction where they had a beginning, middle, and end actually, established, I think maybe those movies would have done better, and you would have proven we can give Star Wars to a new generation with new characters. We don't have to continue with the like the Skywalkers as we know them, like Mark Hamill, Han Solo.
But as you said, Andre, they want money.
But that was not. But listen, that was not the case. They did not put the best product forward, and
Andre,
they suffered for it. And now they have to.
Star Wars, like the first Star Wars movie that came out of the new prequels, made $1 bajillion. They did everything they need to do in terms of cashing them checks. So as much as you think it's a failure, it was one of the highest grossing Star Wars movies.
The franchise now. Where's the franchise now?
Well, the issue was
any more Star Wars movies. So it doesn't matter how many hamburgers or Big Macs McDonald's sells. It's not the greatest hamburger.
Well, the issue was Star Wars. The second of that prequel screwed it up, but of the trilogy, because number 2 basically screwed everything up, and then number 3 was insalvageable because the storyline of number 2. But that was just, to your point, J.J. Abrams looking off the wheel and going, hey, you know what? We can do no wrong. We can put anything out there, and Star Wars fans are going to buy it. We haven't hit that saturation part in the MCU yet. Maybe there'll be a day, but guess what? It happened in DC. That Justice League movie came out, and they're like, yeah, no, thank you. So you have to put some semblance, like some semblance of like an idea out there that people want.
And it's got to be coherent.
Barely coherent. And that's it, because some of the Marvel movies, I love them, but to your point, they're not the movies that you're going to think back and like, well, this was the Citizen Kane of its day. But it was just enough that you could just watch in the background. You know, we've talked about time and time again, Winter Soldier is still the benchmark of the best comic book movie ever created. But the Star Wars universe, the same thing. They just thought it was a license to print money. So now we're all happy that they kind of got knocked back a bit, because now we'll get better products.
Slapped a little bit.
Yeah, like they still made $1 billion on both movies, but they were from exponential growth when it comes to these people at Disney. It's their shareholders are like, okay, you made $10, great, Andre, but the next time you do something, we want $15. And then when after that, we want $20. It doesn't matter what you do this time. It's an incremental like increase. So it's just they just like, okay, you'll just make more. But I think part of us, the same thing about the Star Wars movies, new ones, was that we're upset because it didn't honor the characters that we grew up loving. So that's the debate between everyone over and over again, is the debate about character. And the MCU, what they do is they're like, you know what, Iron Man's out, we'll get someone else in, we'll bring up a new character and we'll continue rolling it out. And to their success is that no one's controversial there. They're just basically, okay, next guy up. So
it's going to be Paul Rudd
as the leader of the Avengers.
Yeah, they need another comedic guy in the.
Honestly, these people that have been watching just like when we watched Star Wars when we were kids, they don't know the difference anymore. They're like, oh, this is how it is. We're going to replace a new actor. Like when a new Bond comes in, we're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it's this guy. It's like, we're just like, okay, who's going to be after Daniel Craig? Like we're in that motion when it comes to replacing actors. There's no such thing as, you know, hey, when this guy dies, that's it. So hopefully that will carry over in Star Wars. Because even you were saying, John, as much as I love Mark Hamill, if I don't get Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, I'm fine with it. Get a new guy in there. Just change it up. We saw Donald Glover as Lando, and I really liked Lando as much as I would want to de-age Billy D. Williams. I thought Donald Glover was great. And if the Donald Glover Lando TV show comes out, I'll watch the crap out of it. I'm fine with that. But it's just a matter of something new. As long as you honor the old and do a new twist, then let's see what happens. So, we went off course on that one. So Star Wars, as we talked, big universe, characters, some good, some bad, some overrated, some underrated. So give me your thoughts on the most overrated and most underrated character in the Star Wars universe. John.
Oh, are we going to talk overrated first? Or are we going to go with the fan overrated?
You can do whatever you want.
Who's on your shirt, John?
Yo, the Fat Man. I don't know. I don't think he's over. I think he's still cool. I don't know. Who would I want to see more of? You guys just got finished like trashing the new movies, but I feel like C-3PO had some good moments in the new movie. His comedic timing and no, I'm just joking. Damn, I don't know. I think someone else is gonna have to jump in, and then I'll come up with some.
All right, Andre.
Some answers here.
So overrated?
Yeah.
Overrated character, most overrated character in Star Wars for me right now is the Mandalorian. Overrated. Don't know what his character is. Guy can't fight. Pretty damn useless.
You can scrap. You can scrap.
Come on, come on. Like, he's supposed to be the best of the best, and like, how many times was he bested?
He's just one man. He's one
Andre,
man.
Goku gets beat up all the time, but it's round 2 that he comes back and takes the fight.
That's-
Just like your
that's
boy
true.
Batman. Batman loses a lot too.
This
lot.
guy, in the first or second episode, he's looking down his scope and he doesn't hear this giant freaking lizard thing stomp over him. You know, he somehow, without the help of Baby Yoda,
That lizard was stealthy.
That dude can't shoot. Like, listen. Anyways, overrated character. There's no character development in him. I couldn't give a shit about him. It's poorly.
I don't know.
Let me just say right now, Jon Favreau, if you ever see this, I still love you. Don't listen to what Andre says. Mandalorian's great.
He wants to be on
Don't listen to
Mandalorian.
Andre.
I'll be on Mandalorian.
I'm growing my beard just so I can be a Jedi in the future. This is what's happening. My Obi-Wan Kenobi beard. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he's right now. He's super overrated. Super overrated.
I loved him. We're gonna go on a whole tangent now.
Yeah, no. I honestly, there's I know more about the Mandalorian than I do about Boba Fett. So
this is true, yeah.
Like, I know nothing about Boba Fett. I know that he has a rocket pack, and he, just like the Mandalorian, just can be bested by someone going, Boba what? And then just spin around and knock his jetpack, and then he falls into a Snarlack pit. So technically, the Mandalorians, if you follow the movie canon, they're all bungling kind of guys that make mistakes, Andre. So the greatest bounty hunter got, but how did the greatest bounty hunter got beat again?
If we're following the canon,
yeah,
Clone Wars is canon. Look at what Boba Fett did in Clone Wars as a kid.
Yes, but
all right,
but that's a kid, Andre. There's many kid actors who do very well, but as adults screw it all up. So
talking about the Clone Wars cartoon,
I'm well aware. But in the movie, he got bested. Maybe we need a cartoon series with the Mandalorian, so you can show him as a little kid fighting. And,
maybe we can show him doing something other than sticking Baby Yoda in a closet and then dipping on his way. Maybe, right? Maybe we could show this guy who has his ship and he could turn on his security system so the Jawas couldn't strip his shit. Maybe we could have this.
They can get around that.
Kill Jawas instead of getting punked by Jawas. Come on, man. Listen, he's lame. He's overrated. Everybody loves him, and that's great. But overrated, in my opinion. You asked, you got.
All right, it's fine. It's fine. I'm going Boba Fett, as John said. I don't care what anyone says. He. I guess it's because his armor is cool, like the green and whatever. And this is even before the Mandalorian came out. It was just like, you know, the amount of merch that dude has in the Star Wars universe, and including Slave One. I'm just like, okay, I get it. You're in Star Wars for a few minutes. Like, I would rather send my love to IG-88 than to, with Boba Fett. But that's just my perspective. But so underrated. So let's go to underrated. Or John, are you gonna go Boba Fett before I jump over?
I'm kind of lost now. Okay, I don't know. I'm still on the Mandalorian thing. Overrated. I don't know. Can you call a character both overrated and utilized?
Yes, you can.
Like if I threw out a Darth Maul, who I love, I feel like he revolutionized the lightsaber fight.
Yep.
But he got
that was right. Yeah.
He only got one movie, and like he's had like comics and other exploration. But
yeah,
I guess I'm talking in the movie like film realm. He didn't it feels like I don't know why they would have killed him off in that first movie. They should have had to all three almost. Really?
They had to.
Yeah, they had to.
They had to. How was Count Dooku going to be in the next thing? Like, he was building up the whole, you know.
Here's the thing that people don't understand about Darth Maul. Darth Maul was basically the sword or the lightsaber of Sidious.
Okay? Yep.
So while he was cool design, he had no future past that. He just had to be a credible threat to the Jedi. He was a disposable villain. The fact that everybody liked him is why he came back in the cartoons and in Clone Wars. But the whole point of the prequel trilogy was we were supposed to have 3 distinct villains to play off and build up to why Vader was going to be the best.
Yep.
The second movie, and then we had basically Grievous in the third movie. So that was the plan, right? So yeah, Maul was a very cool design, and that fight still goes down as the best fight and stuff like that. But from a character standpoint, his whole point was disposable weapon of the big bad guy who we know is then going to temper and build Vader as his ultimate weapon. So while they were able to do cool things with Maul in the cartoons, in the comic books, and the video games and stuff like that, I even in Rebels, I feel that character got way more than its due. Like he should have been up to, like, again, they handled him really, really well, but I don't think that was his story. I think what's that saying where you fall ahead of your means or whatever, you know, like he fell upwards, you know, and that's great. It shows that
you fell downwards in 2 pieces.
but to your point, John, like the whole point, like the comment I was saying about Boba Fett was that he looked really cool, and don't get me wrong, Darth Maul looks awesome. He is a very visually stunning character design, and he looks just like when you first see him, when he takes off the hood for the first time, you're like, oh my goodness, this guy looks like a badass because of the red and the black. He just has a demonic, evil guy look. But I don't give any credit to George Lucas when it comes to Ray Park. He just found the best guy who knows martial arts, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's the guy that can just fight and actually know what he's doing with the lightsaber, with the staff. So a lot of it was just based on the fact that this guy, we're so used to Star Wars where there's 2 guys with judo sticks just going back and forth, left and right, that movie unlocked this whole idea that you guess what? Give a guy with martial arts skill a sword and have them fight, and all of a sudden Star Wars can be awesome. You know, it's one of the main problems I have with Rogue One is that Darth Vader is awesome and he fights really cool in that movie, and then like not even a day later he can't fight Obi-Wan at all because he doesn't know how to fight anymore.
He threw at his back.
He threw
Threw at his
ran out of
back.
batteries. I don't know how to do this anymore. So and then we, to Andre's point, you know, in the extended universe, and maybe by season 6 of The Mandalorian, Andre will get enough storyline to appease him. But you know, we got Sam Witwer to do his interpretation of Darth Maul as more of a tragic character, someone who, you know, was seduced by, as Andre mentioned before, the power of to do things he wanted to save the people that he lost in his life, to be able to right those wrongs. So that is why, you know, he's more of a tragic character. But to your point, like he is, I would say until the Clone Wars and even Rebels, like, or the Star Wars comics, he was kind of very overrated. So yes, I will always want to see more Darth Maul, but we kind of already know how his story ends. So Andre, who is underrated?
Underrated, like underrated. Chewbacca.
Interesting.
You know,
Why?
So I know it would be really hard because, you know, he's speaking Sherwook.
He's like an I Am Groot type character.
You can't really use anything. But I think if you go back and you look at especially like Empire, you know, and you see the emotions that come out of him and stuff. You know, I always remember that scene where Han is going out to get Luke, and they have to close the blast doors, and he just puts his head on the Falcon's bulkhead there, and you just like, and you see this, and you know, I've read a lot of the novels, so I know how cool and how good that character is, but we never really understand the importance of the life debt, you know, and I feel that that's something that like the Wookiees are so honor bound to, you know, to do something, and like you really, you know, think about the person, you know, that, or a person you would spend your whole life with and forego your personal happiness and your chance at a life because this person did something. Now they chose to tell that story in Solo, and I think it was really botched. Like, to me, like, I don't think a life that would just be getting him out of the prison. Like, I think in the books it was way different, and
Yeah.
it was deeper. And I know we did get to see some of the Wookiees in. We didn't really get to see. We didn't really get to see their culture and their their greatness. If you remember the video game Knights of the Old Republic, the first one from BioWare, we go to Kashyyyk and you see them and stuff like that. So I think, yes, it would be a challenge because you'd have to subtitle it or whatever. But I think again, talking expanded universe, he was the only main character to die in the book. And we look at the new movies, and he's the only character that lived, basically, from the main characters, and you don't know anything more about Chewbacca from 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, and 6. And except we know that he did know Yoda from episode 3. So I think Chewbacca, from the movie standpoint, was a very big missed opportunity and a very underused character.
Yeah, and I was gonna mention that Yoda gives him a shout out. He was like Chewie, like he what was the other? Who's the other one he said? I think it was like Chewbacca's father or whatever. But yeah, there was he did a shout out to both characters. So yeah, I think by the merchandise that Chewbacca has, I don't think he's underutilized. But yes, as a character itself, don't worry. If they do more Star Wars movies with Finn and co, Chewbacca's going to be there because where else is he going to go? So that's really what's going to happen. He'll be default because from a cost perspective, all you need is a tall dude in a costume, and guess what? That's Chewbacca. So you always get more Chewbacca. From that standpoint, if I had to kind of pick the underrated, I have to go back to Shadows of the Empire, and that's Dash Rendar. I need more Dash Rendar in my life. I love Dash Rendar. I think everything about him is awesome. He's just another Han Solo archetype. The Outrider is an awesome ship. It shows up from time to time. He has his own sidekick who's a robot, so that kind of adds in some fun there too. Yeah, it's one of those characters that if you played the old N64 video game, you have a very much a love and a kin to. But in the books, again, it's even to John's point, it talks a lot about a young Luke Skywalker and Prince Shizor and a lot of cool stuff. So I would say it's Dash Rendar is just, he looked really cool. It was one of those things. I feel like he's underutilized and underrespected. So I would like more Dash Rendar in my life. So and that kind of is a nice segue because I guess in terms of Star Wars video games, as we kind of see the release of the last Star Wars video games, there's been a lull, but because LucasArts wasn't necessarily involved and EA's been doing all the Star Wars games. But going back to all your Star Wars games experience, yes, Dash Rendar. What is the number one Star Wars game, John?
Super Star Wars for Super NES. No, for me, I didn't play any of the new stuff, so I'm gonna pull up a really old picture, and maybe some of you guys are gonna recognize this or not. But this is
Dark Force
person shooter for PC back in the day when first person shooters were the big thing, Doom, Quake, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I used to play that, like TIE Fighter came out, I think, before, and you would fly around. I freaking sucked at that game. You'd like fly around and be like, there goes the ship, try to chase it down, try to shoot down. Couldn't do it. But that game, you'd be running around trying to shoot guys. You were hoping that, I don't know if you ever got a lightsaber in that game or anything like that, but I remember that gun in the picture there. You just have that gun. Yeah. And I think there was a pistol of some kind.
Yeah, he had a
yeah. TIE Fighter
was the game.
Underrated, John. That the fact that TIE Fighter was such a game when you recognize that, oh man, I don't have shields. Like, this is hard. Yeah. Like taking down like X-Wings, you're like, what do you mean I don't have shields? Like, until you got the advanced TIE Fighter. But also the secondary thing, the coolest thing about that game was the fact that you could join the Imperial, like, Emperor's Guard when you got the tattoos on the arms. So you would play the game, and the more medals you got, you were invited to potentially join Palpatine's like secret like TIE fighter squadron, and they had your sleeves that rolled up, and then there was these dark Star Wars like tattoos that you would get. It was incredible. Like you probably didn't get far enough in the
I
game,
definitely
John.
didn't. Yeah, I don't think I made it. Like I couldn't see. Like I'd be like chasing those things and think, oh man, there he goes. I couldn't catch it. I couldn't figure it out.
But oh my god, if you got to the point where you got the Imperial tattoos on your wrist, it would show up and you'd be like, yeah, this is the greatest. Andre.
So the greatest I think was for me was Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2
KOTOR.
from BioWare. That
1
version,
or 2. You can't pick 1 and 2. They're
like,
separate games.
It's the expansion of the story. It's
So
like
pick 1, damn it.
it's the first one, then it's
Okay.
the first one. Yeah, like that was just super cool. The best reveal of a video game. Handled everything so well. They incorporated so much of the lore. All the characters were cool. How you built your
I did play that, and that's an RPG game. I never played those games.
Yeah.
The quests were amazing. Just fantastic. Like I know they did an update for the iPad or not iPad, a tablet version or whatever.
Yeah.
And I actually it's backwards compatible on the Xbox One. So I dug out my disc the other day and popped it in there and stuff. And it's got some new textures and stuff like that. But that would be a game that I'd love to see either fully remastered or, for Pete's sake, give us the end of the trilogy, because the second one ended on a cliffhanger. And I know there's the PC MMO, which is just called Old Republic, I think.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. I tried it, but I'm not a PC guy, so I didn't get into all of the stuff. But I think they just need to finish that as a console version, or console and PC, whatever. But that one is amazing. But I have to give a shout out to the new Jedi Fallen Order. That game's fantastic. Like, and it can only get better. Like it was a great start.
Yeah.
The character was cool. The story was well executed, and it's basically a cross between like taking Tomb Raider and Star Wars. So you get the story.
Yeah.
You've got a great cast and a ship. And it's set right after Order 66 and stuff. So it's an amazing game. It just came out last November. If you haven't played it, pick it up. It's fantastic, and it's not too hard. Like the combat is not hard. A lot of people look at it and say, "Oh, that looks..." No, remember, you're a Jedi taking on stormtroopers and stuff. Your lightsaber want to kill in that game.
You can take also tear down the difficulty. You don't have to go. I think my friend Mike before told me that he lowers all his games to like easy mode because he wants to play the story. Yeah. And I laughed at him, going, "Oh, Barltrop, come on, what are you doing? We're making it. Why are you playing it easy?" And now I've seen the light. I'm like, you know what? You're right. Play easy mode on all these games just to get through the damn game, and then don't worry about it. Why am I challenging myself for no reason? So shout out to him, because I've seen the light when it comes to those games. I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Why do I have to put an extra 10 hours of this game when I could just play easy mode to complete it? But yeah, no, there's a few good Star Wars games out there, but as you heard me talk, like Shadows of the Empire is a good one. TIE Fighter or X-Men vs. TIE Fighter is a good one. But for me,
Beat Saber.
Yeah, and then Jedi Academy with Kyle Katarn was a really good one. But the game that I have the fondest memories playing with my younger brother or playing with my friend Craig is Star Wars Battlefront 2. It's the game that brought in online, or you could play by yourselves in a 2-player split screen, you versus the computers in like a scale battle that you could do at home. Is something that memories keep on flowing back, and we don't even have that going with Battlefront 3. I remember playing Battlefront 2. Why more than one was the moment when you could play on Hoth, and the two of you guys could jump in the snow speeder and then flip around, and you're like, this is everything I want. Or I could jump out and be Luke Skywalker with his lightsabers, just taking people down. It is an incredible game, and I can see why the community still yearn for it. And I wanted Battlefront 3 to be as good as Battlefront 2, and alas, not even close.
Not even.
Although
It's supposed to be good now.
Battlefront 3 has that Wookiee mode, which seems, I watched Bruce Green and some Twitch people play it the other day, which is pretty awesome. But it's not the same. That Ewok mode is that you're pitch black on Endor. You and like however many guys you're playing are on a team, and there are 2 Ewoks that see in the dark, and you have to survive in the survival mode as long as you can. But as a stormtrooper, you don't have, it's pitch black, and if you don't have a flashlight, you basically see nothing. You have a gun. So the Ewoks are coming down, and every time an Ewok takes down one of your squadron members, they become an Ewok. So then they join the other team. So now you have to survive for like the 10 minutes until the dropship comes, and then the Ewoks are kind of in the darkness hunting you down one by one. So it's a cool mode, but there's nothing that can take the fact that you could play a landline or like split screen at home without anyone. To your point, Andre, like just to be able to pull that disc out and play it just by yourself offline is just an amazing experience. So Battlefront 2 is where it's at. But
there was an old Nintendo 64 Star Wars game, wasn't there, that was like really hot for a second?
Oh yeah, Rebel Assault.
Rebel Assault. That was for GameCube.
Yeah,
I remember that was a big deal for
Rebel Assault was really good for GameCube, and it was kind of the next level of Shadows of the Empire. Because Shadows of the Empire was
it was a rails shooter. You know, it was very cool. You were on the rails, but it was still pretty neat.
It was, and Shadows, to be fair, was a rail thing too, because you just weren't on a spaceship half the time. You're like, oh, you start off in Hoth, and then you got in the ship and you're escaping, Hoth, and then you're on another planet and you're in character / ship mode. So it wasn't as open world. It was kind of a rail situation as well. So now that we're kind of running to the end and there's not much time left, quick Star Wars book recommendation, comic book recommendation. What, John and Andre, do you have a quick book that you could recommend for people to, or a trade or something that you would recommend for someone to read more about the Star Wars universe?
I really like the latest Kylo Ren miniseries they did. It just wrapped before all this went down, so the trade's, I guess, going to come out after. But like you guys are saying, those characters, we didn't really get to know them in those movies, and the comic series was basically like Kylo Ren's journey from being Luke's apprentice to kind of turning to the dark side, finding the Knights of Ren and all that stuff. Yeah. And the art was really well done. It's 4-issue series, so I would recommend that.
Andre?
I'm going to go to a series that's only available probably now in trade. It was called Star Wars Legacy, and it came out by Dark Horse.
That was a good book.
Unfortunately, it's going to have a problem for Stu because it is following the Skywalkers yet again.
That's fine. That's the one I like. The great-great-grandson of Luke Skywalker. So that's the one.
His name is Cade Skywalker, and the Jedi Order has fallen again. And there's a new Sith Legion, and basically Cade doesn't want to be a Skywalker, so he uses drugs to suppress his force. And of course, Destiny shows up and shows him that he's still a Skywalker, and there's still a galaxy to be saved. But a fantastic book written by John Ostrander and art by Jean Duresma. So there's, I think, 2 volumes out right now by Marvel under the Star Wars Legacy Legends line, and you might be able to still find them under Dark Horse, but the series went exactly about 50 comics, so there's probably going to end up being 4 complete trades by Marvel, and I think there were 8 by Dark Horse, but highly recommend the series.
To be fair, Andre, that's what I wanted the new trilogy to be. I didn't want, Harrison Ford was so curmudgeon about the whole thing. It's like, let's not do it, but you know what will work? Mark Hamill can look awesome as a space ghost, as like a Jedi Force ghost. Like it would have just perfectly tied in. We wouldn't have had Palpatine. We wouldn't have had all this fan service that was there we go, not necessary. So to your point, Andre, that was the trilogy I wanted, not a reliance to Luke, but the fact that we could go further ahead in the Star Wars canon. We could look back on it and then just fill in the blanks, like without wiping out all of Legacy. Because we could just say, oh yeah, Mara Jade, like things happened back then, and you didn't have to wipe out the history that curmudgeonly just happened, and now they're Star Wars legends. So, unfortunately, but as we're at wrapping up, I just want to do a huge shout out to Bruce Green and co. I was telling the guys on the video podcast that they recited by memory Star Wars Phantom Menace for charity. It was an incredible 4.5-hour stream on Twitch. So if anyone has time to
Jesus.
watch it, Bruce Green on Twitch with Raul. I'm gonna butcher his last name. Kodahi. Oh, boy, he was on iZombie. He's a British actor. He's fantastic. And then Jacob Furlong. They for charity raised $1,700 out of the $30,000 they aimed for yesterday. So they essentially reciting the whole Star Wars movie by memory, and doing all the voices and acting it out. Bruce was just basically reading the stage direction. And anytime they flubbed the line, like a word was off, they take a sip of alcohol. Every time they needed help, like I don't know the line, they take a shot. So it was an incredible display. They were really good until they got to Coruscant, which I think all of us wanted to wipe from our memories. The whole Coruscant, like 10 minutes of 20 minutes of like talking about
fell apart.
And just like, like a vote of no confidence and all that stuff. And then Raul, to all his glory, just got destroyed, like just totally wasted at near the end, where just him spaced down. And credit to him, if you watch the video about 4 hours in, he's like, guys, he just leaves the stream and everyone's like, okay, he's gone, he's not coming back.
Throws up.
Epic fashion. He's like, guys, I threw up, I'm back in, I'm energized, I'm gonna finish out this stream, and just plows through and finishes the last 30 minutes of the movie. So
I can't think of anything that I would be able to recite. Maybe Bad Boys 1 and maybe Friends episodes, but damn, yeah, no.
There's nothing. And again, it's just the nature of these guys, how good, and they're wearing the Jedi robes, how good, and also be able to do it in character, and just you could see what was really interesting was the process. You could see them, just like the podcast, you could see, the thought process, the gears turn, and they're like, what's that line? Were able to work as a team at least. So it wasn't like the two versus each other. So at least if I were doing something, I could ask Andre for help. I was like, what's that thing with it? And then they were able to do it. But it was incredible. And if they can get their goal of 30,000, they'll do Attack of the Clones. So they raise money for Direct Relief. So if anyone is watching and wants to watch that stream and donate to Direct Relief, it was a really good charity, and it's an incredible watch. And the voices they do are again.
Why that movie? Why not the original trilogy?
They were saying that Attack of the Clones is the best one to do because the movie is an incoherent mess. Like if you just read the script, you're like, what is happening? Like the dialogue is, all the memes are in that like all the madness happens in Attack of the Clones, but they figured we can't jump to Attack of the Clones. We have to start at the Phantom Menace, and then they did it. And the first 20 minutes of the Phantom Menace, they just crushed it. But then after everything else, it started slowly starting to fall apart. And a lot of Jar Jar and a lot of like, it's just got, again, to that point of Darth Maul. Darth Maul looks really pretty. It looks really good. But just without me rewatching that movie, just listening to this, to them just talk about the movie, and I'm like, oh God, that happened? And a lot of Boss Nas and a lot of just Sebulba, like a lot of stuff. I'm like, I tried to erase from my mind, like pod racing, which again, a good video game, but my God, like just
kids movie. Don't forget, Phantom Menace reintroducing it to a new generation.
But to be fair, at least pod racing was kind of akin to like maybe they were doing the Fast and Furious like vibe. It's like, oh, you know what, kids like car racing. It was at least better than the horses that were running in the casino.
That was a 20-minute sequence, wasn't it? Pod race.
Yeah,
no, that's at least 20-30-minute sequence.
And then in the DVD release, they did extend it.
They extended it. It's
all three of the track. But it was,
I don't know what it is.
Watch it. It's amazing.
It's kind of like Quidditch, Andre. People love it, and they just need more of it. I don't know why Harry Potter needs more Quidditch.
Show the pod race to your kids, and they'll love it. I showed it to my nephews who were hooked.
Yeah,
it's a great scene for kids, man. It just is.
So Andre can salvage that. Although, I mean, maybe your love of the West Wing really made you love the Imperial like Senate Republic when they're talking about a vote of no confidence. So could you see some Sorkin in there when they're like, my people are dying? It's like, again, suffering leads to death. It's like, these are the things that they said in the Imperial Senate. Maybe that was what Andre loved too. So anyways, okay, as we're closing out, thanks everyone again for watching or listening. We appreciate it. Again, find John and Andre through Facebook or YouTube or all their other social media channels. Final thoughts from either of you guys before we sign off? Now's your opportunity. John?
I don't know. In reference to Phantom Menace, the best part was after the movie, my now wife turned to me and goes, "I think that kid becomes Darth Vader." And I was like, "That's the whole point of this damn movie." But it was really cool that she figured it out.
I don't think you could top that, Andre, but I'll give you a chance.
Wow. I think, well, my Phantom Menace memory that I really loved was taking my parents to see it, because they took me to see the originals, and my dad's not really into like the sci-fi and the action stuff, but when the movie ended and we were leaving, he's like, "Oh, I really liked the celebration song." He's like, it sounds like West Indian music, you know. But it was a nice memory, you know. You get to take take people to see it and stuff. I saw Phantom Menace 5 times in the theater, man. I still love it. It's actually my 3rd favorite Star Wars movie.
We're gonna have to do a whole other podcast on that one, Andre.
Let's close with our Star Wars order.
No. We're gonna go another 3 hours. We're teasing that. We're teasing that for the next one, because we're gonna get in big fights on the order. Because
no, that's all.
I think we can have a whole nother thing just on Mandalorian.
Yeah, we can do a whole other thing.
I didn't get on that podcast, so I don't know.
We'll maybe need to bring Justin to get some hipster vibes on that.
We'll jump in another person or two, and then we'll do like a Mandalorian refresh.
The Mandalorian thing, because again, in order to do the Mandalorian, you have to have knowledge of the other stuff.
Slow down. It's fine. Andre, we love it. Leave it alone.
Because you guys have a
it's fine.
Listen, my where I stand is where I stand.
Yeah, no, I respect it. I understand it. I just think that you can't judge the whole series until it's done. So rumored. No, not confirmed. So we will wait and see. Just like you said, you succinctly said that Clone Wars had its up and downs based on it, but overall it was good. So let's wait till it's all done. Let's bookmark this talk on the Mandalorian, and we'll wait till it's done, because
or let's watch there's a behind the scenes Mandalorian.
Yes, that comes out on May 4th.
Because if I went on just season 1 of TV shows, I would hate DS9, and I love DS9. So it got better. Season 1 was brutal, and by season 7, that show really found its bearings. Or Parks and Recreation, or really anything. The season 1 outside of the West Wing, Andre. Not everything hits it out of the park in season 1. So you got to lower your.
Season 1.
Sorry.
Supernatural season 1.
Yeah, Supernatural. Yeah. So you gotta, but let's not talk about Supernatural season 15. Anyways, we'll go in and we're gonna ramble. Anyways, thanks everyone for watching and listening. Have a good one. Again, be safe out there. Thanks everyone.
Thank you. May the force be with you.
Yep, may the force be with you. See ya.